is Mr. Kazeem Afebwa, a member of the Communication of the Presidential Campaign Council and former Commissioner for Information in Edo State. Kazeem, a fine morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity once again.
Indeed. Well, always our pleasure. Okay. Well, today we want to look at, shall we call it the contest. The contest for Senate presidency. Although the way my producers frame it dramatically is the battle for the Senate presidency. First of all, would you consider it a battle, first of all, by way of commentary, or a contest?
Well, I don't think it's a battle. Democracy is a very lovely indulgence, very, very attractive, if only we follow the processes, if only we allow people to have their say, and some others have their way. So they will call it a battle in the context of Nigeria because everything that is worth contesting for in Nigeria, people will always see it as a battle. Yeah. But it's actually a very lovely indulgence that has to do with lobbying. Lobbying. You have to lobby people. You have to woo people. Not necessarily go into a battlefront like they want to put it.
Indeed. And, well, the news is that 7 senators-elect from 5 geopolitical zones are indeed vying for the exalted office of Chairman of the National Assembly, which is an alternative office by which the Senate President is called. Now, first of all, the contest is open, of course, only to members of the ruling APC, right? And first of all, how is it going to go? What I mean by that is that there are a number of standards. First of all, there's the matter of ranking. How many times you've been re-elected, that I think is top of the pecking order. Then there are also some other criteria. I think whether a person, first of all, served in the House of Representatives, that will also determine his place in the queue. And then, of course, there are the, Senatites. I'm trying to find something to rhyme with jambites. There's no such thing in the National Assembly, of course. A senator is a distinguished senator. So this is the pecking order. But and of course, the incumbent Senate president is also in the race. He would like for his colleagues to elect him. But it all depends on the party, isn't it? It depends on how this thing is zoned. How complex an operational matter do you think that is going to be, Kazeem? This whole matter about how the party zones, because there are going to be all sorts of calculations. Since I was saying that 7 senators elect from 5 geopolitical zones, I imagine that they're going to begin to look at how many votes came in from each zone that would then determine the pecking order for these contestants. How do you see it, Kazeem?
Well, the 10th Assembly that we envisage is one that we robustly engage with the executive without being perceived as a rubber stamp assembly. Don't forget that the president-elect is one man who understands the dynamics of politics, who understands the etiquette of maintaining separation of powers, who also is very engaging, an engaging personality who always loves the resource of dialogue and constructive engagement, to attend to issues of national importance. So they are going to be having a president that understands the rubrics, of the legislature, having been a senator himself. So that's the perspective from which we should look at that. That's first. Secondly, we are going to be looking at geopolitical balancing. And I have repeatedly that the South-South zone must be given the opportunity, to assume the position of Senate presidency. for a number of reasons. One, it is the resource base of the country. It is the treasure base of the country. It's a zone that is so important and fundamental for our collective sufferance and collective existence as a nation of several multiplicities. So that is another. The other zones that I'm asking for, the Southeast zone and perhaps maybe a hard North Central zone, should naturally support the South-South zone. Deliberately and consciously so because of the strategic importance of that zone in the collective affairs of Nigeria. Mm-hmm. I know that the president-elect, and for his own presidency, having said that, the contribution of the South-South zone to this presidency is not something you can toy with. Knowing full well that the South-South has been the bedrock of PDP as a political party and as an opposition party. But in the last election, 2023, the South-South zone was able to rally around APC. They came second in most of the elections at the presidential level. In Rivers, APC came first. In Edo, they came second. In Delta, they came second. In Cross River, the same thing. And Akwa Ibom, despite all the manipulations of the PDP ruling party there and being the home base of the chairman of the presidential campaign of the PDP, APC was still able to score over 150,000 votes. That to me is like breaking the ice. So APC performance in the South-South is quite formidable and contributory to the overall success of the president-elect. In the Southeast, there is some level of conspiracy and contradiction. And how do I mean? You have senators elected from that zone who score as much as 40-something thousand votes, 50-something thousand votes in the senatorial election, an election that was conducted the same day, the same time, the same hour, and the president, their own presidential candidate, scoring 2,000. In some cases, 6,000 in the whole state. That to me was very ridiculous. Something must have happened. He said that there is some level of conspiratorial allegiance to some other candidate, protect me, I protect you kind of scenario, or they deliberately worked against the president-elect to ensure that he couldn't score the same number of votes they scored in their own senatorial contest. So I do not see the Southeast coming to ask for Senate presidency, the number 3 position.
Well, as you know, sorry Kazim, as you know, Orji Uzor Kalu, distinguished Senator Orji Uzor Kalu, who would be the southeastern candidate, has said, quite frankly, that he's seeking the office because Emilokan, it is his turn, as he put it.
No. He doesn't. Orji Uzor Kalu doesn't believe in the philosophy of Emilokan. If he believed in the philosophy of Emilokan, he will have the creator of Emilokan philosophy, and that is the president-elect. So, Orji Uzor Kalu, to all intents and purposes, did not work for us. If Orji Uzor Kalu did work for the president-elect, he would not be scoring 40-something thousand in his senatorial election, and his own presidential candidate, the architect of Emilokan political philosophy, so to speak, was scoring 6,000 in the entire state. That was not only ridiculous, it shows that Orji Uzor Kalu and some other persons did actually work against the aspiration of the president-elect. So coming around, turning around and saying that he wants to become, he wants to be the Senate president is like taking the handshake beyond the elbow. There is nothing bad in aspiration, but it has to be some level of equity, fear, a position. You have to ask yourself, what is my contribution to this whole process that threw up, first, the president-elect, because you are going to be working with the president in a very robust manner, in an engaging manner, in a collective manner, that will help to drive the wheel of progress of the country. So, an Orji Uzor Kalu who could give a president-elect 6,000 votes and he is scoring 40-something thousand to elect himself as a senator, And do you see that as justiciable? Do you see that as fairness? I think it beggars the issue when I see people want to cash in on situations because they feel that, there's a lacuna. There's no lacuna in this case. Politics of inclusion is what I'm asking for in supporting a South-South presidency and Senate presidency. You have to balance the power algorithms. I keep saying this every time. And the decision to support the South-South will be a conscious and deliberate one to ensure that zone that is the treasure base of the country, that is the resource base of the country, is carried along, given a sense of belonging, so that in driving the national affairs, you have a Senate president who they can look up to pursue their aspiration, nationwide.
As we know, we'll talk about some of the other contestants. We've actually mentioned about 2 of them, and I said there were 7 of them. The other thing, of course, is that our penchant for balancing, and the president-elect and vice president-elect, as you know, it was something of a sensation when the president-elect chose his running mate on account of both of them being of the same faith. Now, that takes care of number 1 and number 2. Number 3, of course, is the Senate president. Now, I've heard people say that don't bring religion into this at all. Just look past it. Just stay with competency and qualification. What would be your commentary on this?
Well, thank you very much. I think, speaking very seriously, the election of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the president-elect, knowing full well that it was a same-faith ticket, has raised the issue of religion. But it's a sentiment that you cannot run away from when you keep seeing people, you're hearing people talk about religion every now and then. You cannot, in a country as plural as Nigeria, you must deliberately and consciously do certain things just to make sure that you are able to calm frayed nerves. And in this instance, Bola Ahmed Tinubu being a Muslim, the vice president-elect being a Muslim, will just make it a consideration that a Senate president should be of other religion. Don't forget that it is not an issue about Christian and Muslim in Nigeria alone. There are those who don't practice the foreign religions that we practice. There are people who are practicing traditional religion. There are people who are atheists and all that. They also deserve recognition. But essentially, if you take someone from South-South, you will have been balancing a geopolitical equation, not necessarily that of religion, but that of a geopolitics, knowing full well that this particular zone is of utmost importance, that yes, you can attempt to balance your factors, you can attempt to balance all the algorithms, but take into consideration the importance of the geopolitical zone. And in this case, what the East want, what the Southeast people want, is presidency, not Senate president. They have had a president on 5 occasions in the current dispensation of 24 years. They've had it 7 times in the history of Nigeria. Nwafo Rizu was one, and Nnamdi Azikiwe was another. Then you have Wabara, you have Ewerem, you have Okadigbo, you have Nnamani. So 5 of them in this dispensation. It's about time. But the concept of a Milocon should be that of the South-South. Such an important geopolitical zone, if there are tremors, if there are political turmoil in South-South, you won't be able to get your acts right, because that is the treasure base of the country. That is the resource base of the country. So you must continuously and deliberately and consciously factor in their own interests and aspirations in planning or in balancing all the political algorithms. So I don't have problem with someone saying that it's a Milocon or whatever. What did he put on the table? What did he contribute? We have senators, ranking senators from South-South who contributed so well, despite the fact that it was more or less like a battle getting the election through in their own locality. So I will make a case for South-South today, tomorrow, and I will continue to insist that you need to balance power, you need to balance the algorithms of power for you to enjoy some level of stability in dispensing with dividends of democracy.
Okay, take Senator Jibrin, for instance. According to news reports, he has said that, look, I'm the most ranked senator here. Not that he needed to go there, but by that implication, he is saying that if things are going to go according to the rules, rules of engagement, I don't know if they are really rules or if they are sort of procedures that have been adopted. But Senator Jibrin says that he's the most ranked senator, and therefore I imagine he will be feeling that if it doesn't come my way, I probably have cause for offense.
Well, are you talking of Jibrin from the Northwest Zone?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Northwest Zone will just be finishing as #1 position in the country for 8 years. They have just been leaving presidency. They shouldn't aspire to be #3 almost immediately. I can make do if they aspire for speakership of the Assembly, of the House of Reps, but not Senate presidency. You see, just the same token. The North Central Zone can ask for Deputy Senate President. The Southeast Zone can ask for Deputy Speaker. But essentially, the South-South Zone must be given the recognition and the opportunity to produce the Senate President, #3 position. The Northwest Zone did so well in supporting the aspiration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, no doubt about that. But they are just leaving the seat of government as #1 for 8 years. So they should allow other zones to taste #3 position. They can ask for #4 position now, which is the Speaker of the House of Reps, or anything that the party decides to zone them, but not Senate presidency. The South-South Zone is eminently qualified and strategically positioned, to enjoy this opportunity of Senate presidency, knowing full well its strategic importance, knowing full well the caliber and quality of minds in that zone, and knowing full well that they supported, eminently the president-elect. So with respect to fairness, equity, and justice, it will still count against the Northwest. It will be in support of the South-South.
Indeed. Well, okay, I take that. But Jibrin himself had said that, and I'm quoting him directly in the news, in a news story, there is a need to reward performance. And the Northwest deserves to produce the Senate president because we gave the president-elect the highest number of votes. Okay, I'll come back to you for commentary there. Let me take Reverend Dominic, who has come on the line, and hear his commentary. Maybe you can respond to both at the same time. Good morning, Reverend Dominic.
Good morning to Kasim.
Good morning.
Kasim is a brother and a friend I love so much.
Okay.
I don't know whether he can hear me. Can he hear me, Kasim?
Kazim Afegbu, I can hear you.
I can hear you.
I've said this several times. Elections are over. And for the first time in the history of Nigeria, we have not run this kind of election before that divide Nigeria into pieces in religion, in tribes, in politics, even in APC. We have not run this kind of election. And my joy, I've been saying to you, is that the person who won this election understand what means by diversity and teamwork. We shouldn't be talking about now. That how could he, let me price what we're saying. There are some people who gave him 95% vote, that he would treat them well. There are people who didn't, 5%. And that 5% refers to Southeast. And you know how this government has become and the imbalance in it. The government is supposed to know this. What will be in our head now is to put the job together and share the offices well. That every zone will be part of this government for healing, for peace. Number two, when our brothers in South South, which Kasim is part of, always make some sentiments, they make like threats. Everybody in Nigeria has power to protest or not to protest. Nobody has all the power in the world. Nobody has the authority to government again and it becomes unbalanced. We are causing more trouble to this nation. Country should hear this. What we need now is a government of national unity. I don't know how people will do it. I know you will do it. But we should not talk about 5%. Let me tell you one thing. I was surprised that Ojikado won his election. He's supposed to know better than me. Ojikado winning his election is a miracle. You know what it means. You know what I mean by that. So you can't blame Ojikado for APC not winning Abia. Even Ojikado has no say to it because of the atmosphere we saw ourselves. So Ojikado can say it's a miracle, even though I will not support it because of this. Ojikado still has a case to answer with the EFCC. Court has found him guilty. That is a criminal, sorry to say. But Speaker says he should go. The man that found him guilty is not supposed to find him guilty. He didn't say he didn't commit the offense. So Ojikado will not be best. If Southeast must seek for presidency or Senate, they must bring the best man, not Ojikado. But the story that the Southeast did not contribute to America's election should not come now.
The only problem, Reverend, only problem, Reverend, is that did you just refer to a senator of the Federal Republic as a criminal?
So, no, I'm on television. The court has found him guilty. I didn't find him guilty. I'm not using my words, sir. The Captain know what I'm saying. The court has found him guilty. He went to Supreme Court and said the man who found him guilty, not because he was not guilty. The court said that the man who judged him was admitted to appeal court. That if he got appeal court, he has no right to come and finish his case in the High Court. That was the issue. The court did not say he was not guilty. It's that the man who finds him guilty. I'm quoting the court.
Okay, but, okay, I hear you, Reverend, but it's a bit problematic because he's in the Senate, not just in the Senate, he's also a chief whip, I believe. And they wouldn't put a person who they, think of in the terms that you described, in that kind of a position. But I just thought I'd put it out so that we can leave those kind of matters. But thank you very much for calling in. Reverend Dominic's opinion, not that of the program. So, Kazim, there you have it. And
please let me quickly react. Let me quickly react to him. I think Dominic is just trying to be clever by half, because the position I maintain here is not that of threats. It's that of constructive engagement, it's that of collective bargaining, it's that of reason, logic, and the sanctity of political inclusiveness in the affairs of Nigeria. I have not told him that I'm threatening that I was going to blow up the pipelines if they didn't give us any presidency. I think it was just taking the issue beyond limit. The point I was making is very instructive. And that point is that in this 2023 presidential election, the South-South has been the hotbed, the stronghold of the PDP before now. And that the outcome of APC in the South-South is cheering news in view of the kind of support they got, coming first in River State, second in most of the other states, with votes that helped to support the election of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Now, talking about a miracle of the Ojus Okalu emergence as senator, I also see it as a miracle, and that's why I had to interrogate the miracle. If he could get himself elected as Senate president, it is natural that since it was the same day, the same hour, the same time that the elections were being conducted, his own presidential candidate in his party, APC, should at least have 20 or 30,000 votes. I don't say he should win Abia State for APC, no. But to score 6,000 votes is ridiculous. Something must have happened. It's either there is a conspiracy somewhere, or somebody just deliberately faced his own election and abandoned the other. You see, because the Senate president is going to come from the APC party, APC will naturally look at those who put in efforts, who contributed immensely to ensure that they got victory at the center. That is by extension the presidency. Now, he is talking about time of healing. Of course, Nigeria, every day is a process of healing, every day. We put on the process of healing and all that. For those who are wanting to be healed, they will heal. But those who are not ready for all of that, no amount of balancing you do that, they will still protest. Even though there was a concept of 95 and 5% under Buhari, the Southeast still play a formidable role in the government of Buhari. They still occupy strategic places of strategic importance. So all of that is just theoretical. In practice, the country is one in terms of representation, in terms of balancing, in terms of power sharing. So I don't have a problem with someone aspiring. I'm only making a case of the South-South Senate presidency on account of our strategic importance in the country, on account of our contribution to national growth and stability, on account of our contribution to the success of APC at the presidential elections. Even in places where we see a stronghold of PDP, we're able to penetrate there and make substantial showing, which led to the victory of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. A zone that didn't give 10%, not even 25%, 10%, not one of the states on it, should not naturally be asking for number 3 position ahead of a zone that gave over 40% in all the 6 states of the South-South.
That's right. Okay. Mohammed in Abuja, first of all, I thank you for holding on. Good morning to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Uncle Yori. I appreciate this program today. And this is quite frankly the most sensible program we're supposed to hold today. And I agree totally with my senior brother, Mr. Kazim. I agree with him. Yes, I agree with him totally. All his submissions, I agree. South has never produced speaker, has never produced, I don't know, maybe when in the 70s, but I don't know, from 80s that I know, I've never noticed when South produced speaker or Senate president. But Southeast produced up to 5 Senate presidents as he speaks. In the North, we are just finishing, Northwest, they are just finishing the presidency. That is quite understanding. In the Northeast, in the North, we have Senate presidents. In the North Central, Northeast. Presently the Senate president that is serving now is from the North. When we say North, when we say South, but not produce Senate president twice or 3 times. So it's very, very germane and very, very important for the president-elect to consider South, because they give him vote, even though it's not up to South, Northwest, but still they are very, very, every time we are with them, anytime politics is played, South is with the North. Anytime Southwest, South is with the North. Even when during Civil War, South helps the Nigerians to defeat the Southeast. So, in fact, South is very, very strategic to attend the position of Senate President now. And then I'm appealing for the Senate President-elect to give Lalong SGF to balance the religion issue too. Please, that is my appeal.
All right. That steps out of the scope of our conversation here, talking about the Senate presidency. But thank you very much, Mr. Mohammed, and also for holding on. Kazim, I'll just take a break. Let me take a break and we'll come back.